Might help if I turn that back on. Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov, Shabbat Shalom. It's so nice to see you. Thanks for joining us on this very special Shabbat morning as we welcome Auden as a Bar Mitzvah. We're glad that you can be with us. I hope that everyone picked up a Siddur prayer book on your way in. Ours is a participatory service. We hope that everyone will follow along and join in. For those at home, we want to welcome those who are joining us on Zoom and on our live stream and even on Facebook Live. I'll put the words of the prayer book up on the screen from time to time so that everyone can follow along at home as well. We begin this morning on page 288. And we begin with words of giving thanks. Modeh ani lefanecha. As I begin this day, I give thanks to you, O God, for all of the blessings in my life. Modeh ani.
Modeh ani lefanecha.
Page 287. We give thanks to you, O God, for this Shabbat day, which unites us as a community of faith and hope together, for the holiness of Shabbat, which can lead us to fulfill the best that is in us. We give thanks. For the memories of Shabbat enriched by generations of our people who observed it and from it drew courage to face hardship and light to banish darkness, we are grateful. We offer thanks for the peace of Shabbat, the day consecrated to family love. O God, our turning to you exalts our humanity. You are the source of our life, the source of its greatness, its power, and its beauty together. Help us, O God, to find inspiration for the coming week. Help us to find peace within ourselves and one another. We continue now on page 290 with the singing of Ma Tovu.
Ma Tovu, O Allah,
Now that we're warmed up, Auden is preparing to lead us in worship and in study this morning. I'd like to invite Auden and his parents up to the bima.
Auden, when you were 10 days old, we took you to a friend's house for a 4th of July birthday party. 4th of July party, sorry. Our friends asked about your name, and when we said your middle name was Rue, they said, of course. Everything in New Orleans starts with a Rue. So you were the start of our family, and you were the start of our journey to Judaism. Your mother and I have had very different upbringings and backgrounds, and we chose this path for you because we wanted religion to be an integral part of who you are and how you carry yourself in the world. You've now studied the Torah more than your mother and I combined. We hope that when you read the stories, that you recognize that the people in them are not perfect. They make mistakes. And with God's help, they can do amazing things. Your mother and I are not looking for perfection. And we're looking to instill morals and values in you that seem to be so absent in today's age. Today, you join thousands before you. And at this very moment, many others are sharing the same readings of the Torah, the same blessings. It's not every day you get to be part of a transcendental moment. You're the first in 2 generations of our family to become a Bar Mitzvah. We are so proud. There's no single recipe for raising a child. When you were 4 months old, we took our family's first trip to New York. And while pacing the room trying to get you to go to sleep, we saw an infomercial on TV. It's called Your Baby Can Read. And we bought the series and we would read to you every night. And I wasn't impressed at first. And then one night in our usual routine, I was interrupted. And you took over without skipping a beat and read every page. When thinking of this speech, we dug out that book. And to our surprise, we discovered it was an Israeli lullaby. It reads, translated into Hebrew, Hayom bo nalidit, hu hayom bo hechelit, hakavaya she haolam, ainu, yikol lihit kayama, il od ha. On the day you were born, mountains bowed down, rivers ran round, trees were drumming, flowers strumming, grasses humming, winds caressed, moonlight blessed, clouds danced above, sunbeams sent love, rain tapped a song, rocks rolled along, the sea waved with glee when I held you close to me. The day you were born is the day God decided that the world could no longer exist without you.
You may not realize this, but your father and I were married just short of 10 years before you were born. I suspect that there are quite a few people in this sanctuary who were starting to think after years 6, 7, 8, 9, that Daddy and I would just be dinks with dogs. But more about that in a minute. A few weeks ago, you and I were at school for the open house event, and a young couple came up to me who were touring the school. I asked their kids' ages, and they asked my kids' ages. And when I said I had a 13-year-old, they asked, "What's that like?" And without even pausing to think about it, I said, "Awesome." I think they were slightly taken aback by my response, but simultaneously encouraged. They could tell that my reply was genuine. Being your mom is an awesome experience. I love who you have become, and I have enjoyed every stage along the way. But it is bittersweet. There is a duality to parenthood. Just like the first line of the poem from the author that you are named after, stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, because I would like time to stand still, to keep you cocooned in those quiet and delicious moments when you were small. But the counterpoint to that is that I also cannot wait to see what happens next, what adventures we share, what we teach each other about the world, and inevitably your contribution to it, which I suspect will be substantial. I have been known to call you the anomaly. I have said that you are blessedly nothing like your father or I. But the older you get, I realize I am incorrect. You are like us, but you are blessed with only the good parts. You are intelligent without being egotistical. You are fearless without being reckless. And you are kind without pretense. We are beyond proud of you. As for the 10 years before you were born, worth the wait.
May my life be one link in a chain of goodness. As I say the prayers of my ancestors, help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage. May I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring their spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor like as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes.
We continue on page 293 with our morning blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu asher natan lasak bivina lahavim ben yom uven laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokei ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asuvim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rekah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamochim mitzadei gaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten le'af koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir shina me'enai utnuma me'af apai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzalem Elohim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben horim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Ozer Israel B'Tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Oter Israel B'Tifara.
Amen.
We continue on page 296. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage the words of Torah. Adonai, our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to our people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. We continue on page 298.
Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world. While the principle remains in the world to come, there honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all.
We continue now on page 311 at the bottom of the page.
May you always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Praised are you, Adonai, crowned in adoration, God of praises, sovereign of wonders, delighted in song, eternal majesty.
We turn now to page 313 and we rise for the Baruch.
The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcome than gold. A Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeemed the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Ha'ma'orot.
We continue responsively on page 317.
O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you're one unifier of humanity.
Together, we give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully, we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose.
May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passions for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael.
Ba'ahava.
Bar Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shenkevod Barucho, Neholam Amen. Baruch Shenkevod Barucho, Neholam Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol ma'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'elach asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha Uvleftaha vadera, Uvshokbaha, Uvkumaha, Ukshotam leod, Alidaha, Vahayutatafak, Painenaha, Uktavtam, Almazuzak Betaha, Uvi Sharaha, Laman Tiskeru, Vaasitan, Akomitzatai, Vitam Kedoshim, Eloheham, Ani Adonai Eloheham. Asher hotzeti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lahem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
We continue now on page 321.
Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Yahakulam Otu ופתחנו מלך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, God Israel.
Please rise for the Amidah. Adonai Sifatai Tifta Ufi Yagita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imateinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gamel Hasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Hastevot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Madin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mahaye HaKol Atara L'Hoshia, Mechakel Hayim B'Hesed, Mahaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rachei Olim, Umatir Asavrim, Umakayem Emanato Lishenei Afa, Mihamo Ha'al Gever, Umido Me'elav, Melech Memid, Umahayem, Umatzmiya Yeshua, V'neima Atah Lahei Takol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mahayei HaKol.
לקדש את שמך בעולם, השלים שמך תשימות ומשמרו, וכתוב יד נביאך, וקרא ספרי אמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אמירנו אדוני אדוננו, אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך יבוא אדוני במקומו. אחד אלוהינו, ואבינו ומלכנו, ומושיענו במו ישקיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, יגלוש אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, ודור ודור. הללויה. לטוב אדוני גדלך, ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקיש, ושפחתך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated.
ישמחו למלך
The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to holiness and time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mysteries of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world.
Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue on page 330.
On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us the humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves, and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence.
Baruch atah Adonai, shodcha levadcha, v'yirah ma'avod. We turn now to page 330. There we find our prayer for giving thanks. Modim anachnu lach means we give thanks to you, and we read responsively.
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
Modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. Modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom. Modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatzov shimcha, u'lechana lehodot. We continue now on page 334 with our prayer for peace, Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Sim Shalom, Sim Shalom, Torah
We take a moment now for our own silent prayers. We turn now in our prayer books to page 371. There we find our prayers for healing. As we gather together on this special Shabbat, we give thanks for all of the blessings in our lives. We pause now to think of the blessing of health, and we think of members of our families, friends, and neighbors who could use health and healing in their lives. This Shabbat, the prayers of our congregation go out especially on behalf of Lauren Bowman, Lara D. Christina, Julian D. Feibelman Jr., Sean Greenberg, Dr. Jack Hudson, Edward Lefko, and Joel Webb. We think of all of those who are fighting the coronavirus. We think of all of those who are in pain, all who are suffering, all who could use healing and wholeness in their life. As we join together in our Misha Berach prayer for healing there in the middle of page 371.
Bless the
We turn now to our Torah service, which begins on page 364. This is the highlight of our service, the part that Auden has been working on the hardest. In just a moment, I'm going to invite his parents and brother to join us on the bimah. And then as we take the Torah out from the ark, we're going to pass our sacred Sefer Torah, our sacred Torah scroll, from parents to Bar Mitzvah. Just as Torah has been passed from generation to generation for a long, long, long time. When we pass the Torah to Auden as he becomes a Bar Mitzvah, we know that he will take it not only into his arms, but into his heart as well. So Mom and Dad, Asher, if you'll come join us, and I invite everyone to please rise.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Udavar Adonai Yerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael, Mikdushato.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Kadu Adonai Iti, Romema Shemo, Shemo Yahweh.
Please be seated.
Our Torah portion for this week is Parashat Vayigash. This morning I will be reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 46, verse 26 through 32. The portion begins with the final confrontation between Joseph and his brothers led by Judah. Joseph then reveals himself to his brothers and says it's time to reunite the family. In the verses that I will be reading, Jacob and the family arrive in Egypt, and Jacob is overwhelmed and so happy to see Joseph again.
Yamod Yehuda ben Noach Bar Mitzvah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamelech Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amin V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Step back a little bit.
Kol HaNefesh Haba'a LeYaakov Mitzrayma Yotzei Yureho Milavad Meshe Bnei Yaakov Kol Nefesh Shishim V'Sheish Uvnei Yosef Asher Yulado B'Mitzrayim Nefesh Shenayim Kol HaNefesh Levi Yaakov Haba Mitzrayim Shivim Bet Yehuda Shalach Lefanav El Yosef Laharot Lefanav Goshna Vayavu Artsa Goshen Vayera Eso Yosef Merkata Vayera Likra Israel Aviv Goshna Vayera Ela Vayipol Alt Savarav, Vayika Alt Savarav, Vayomer Yisrael, El Yosef Amuta Hapa'am, Ahare Re'oti Et Panacha, Ki Udecha Ha. Vayomer Yosef El Echad, Ve'el Beit Avi, E'ele Vagida Lefarel, Vayomera Elav Acha Uveit Avi Asher Be'eretz Canaan Ba'u Elai V'ha'anashim Ro'et Son Ki Anshe Mikneh Hayu V'tzonam Uvkaram V'chol Asher Lechem Hevi'u. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
We rise as we honor the Torah. V'zot haTorah shel Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael ati Adonai b'yad Moshe.
Please be seated.
Our Haftorah portion this week comes from the prophet Ezekiel. I will be reading from chapter 37, verse 15 through 28. In our Torah portion, we read about how Joseph and his brothers were reunited for the first time in a long while. Jacob had his whole family together again. In our Haftorah portion, the prophet Ezekiel explains that there will be another reunion. God will bring Joseph and the northern tribes who had been kicked out of their land with Judah and the southern kingdom. Once again, there will be one united people of Israel, living according to God's rules and teachings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hane'emarim ha'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Havocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'Invyeh ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayehi devar Adonai Eli lemor. The word of the Eternal came to me, saying, You, Ben Adam, take a stick and write on it, Judah and all the Israelites associated with Judah. Then take another stick and write on it, Joseph and Ephraim's stick, and all the house of Israel associated with the north. Then bring the two sticks together so they appear as one stick in your hand. And when any of your people ask, What do you mean by what you are doing? Then you will say to them, Thus says the eternal God, Behold, I am taking the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim and the tribes of Israel in the north, and placing them on the stick of Judah from the south, making them one stick, so that they may become a single stick in my hand. Hold in your hand both sticks and tell them, Thus says the eternal God, Behold, I am about to take the people of Israel from the nations where they were scattered. I will gather them from all around and bring them back to their soil. There on the hills of Israel, I will make them into a single nation in the same land, with a single king to rule over them. Never again will they be two nations, Israel and Judah. Never again shall they be divided into two kingdoms. Never again shall they defile themselves with their idols and with their other transgressions. I will save them from all their backslidings and their sins, and I will cleanse them. Then they shall be my people, and I will be their God. My servant David shall rule them. They shall have one shepherd. They shall follow my rules and faithfully keep my laws. They shall live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob, the land of your ancestors. They, their children, and their children's children shall live there forever. I will make a Berit Shalom, a covenant of peace with them, an everlasting covenant with them. I will make them safe and increase their numbers, and place my holy sanctuary in their midst forever. My presence will be with them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And when my holy sanctuary remains among them forever, the nations shall know that I am the eternal God who sanctifies Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol ha'olamim tzaddik b'chol hadarot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'medaber u'mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'nava'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shanatas Hamanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha Lechavod Ultifaret Al Hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach U'mevarchim otach Yitbarach Shimcha b'fi kol hai Tamid ba'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. We continue now on page 376 in our prayer books. As we read our prayer for our country, I invite you to join me in the English at the bottom of page 376. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit, as together we say, Amen. On page 377, our prayer for Israel. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim yishlayu havayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there, as together we say, Amen. We continue on page 374 as we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark. Yahalalu et Shem Adonai ki niskav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted. Please rise. Please be seated.
The story of our Torah portion begins in Egypt. Joseph had risen to be the prime minister, second only to Pharaoh in all of the land. He was in charge of food distribution. Because of the famine in Canaan, Jacob's family, Joseph's brothers, had come to Egypt to purchase food. Joseph had immediately recognized his brothers when they came before him, but the brothers did not recognize Joseph. So Joseph decided to test his brothers to see if they were the same as when they sold him as a slave down to Egypt long ago. He made them bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, to Egypt when they returned a second time. He also wanted to see just how devoted they were to their father. When Joseph threatened to throw Benjamin in jail and keep him in Egypt, the brothers all pleaded for Benjamin's life. It was Judah who spoke. Judah offered to stay in the place of Benjamin. He explained that he had promised their dad that Benjamin would return home safely and that nothing would happen to him because Judah knew that would kill their father. So now Judah wasn't going to let that happen. So he pleaded before Joseph on behalf of his father. It's at this point that Joseph is overcome with emotion. He realizes that his brothers have changed. They are not the same young men who took their anger out on him. They were willing to make a sacrifice on behalf of their brother and family. Joseph is so moved that he clears the room and tells the brothers who he really is. Joseph, their brother, who they had sold to slavery long ago. Next, he instructs his brothers to take as much food as they need and to go home to Canaan and tell their father exactly what had happened, and he wants the whole family to come down to Egypt to live there while the famine continued, so that he could take care of them. The verses that I have chanted this morning explain what happened when Jacob and the 70 members of his family arrive in Egypt. Judah led Jacob to Goshen, the part of Egypt where they could live. When Joseph heard that they were there, he prepared his chariot and raced to meet them. When Joseph saw his father, he was overjoyed and ran over to him, hugging Jacob until both had tears running down their faces. Jacob, also known as Israel, then said to Joseph, "Now that I know you are still alive and have seen your face, I can die in peace." One of the important lessons from this story is the importance of forgiveness. It is not always easy to forgive someone who has hurt us, but sometimes, even though it is difficult, it is the right thing and the best thing to do. Joseph had every right to be mad at his brothers and let them starve back in Canaan. He could have just focused on their lives in the past, but instead he decides to think more about the future. In order to do that, he is willing to forgive his brothers, especially after he knows that they have changed and grown up and are ready to think about others and not just themselves. By forgiving them and inviting them to move down to Egypt, he is making it possible for them to have a future together. As a Bar Mitzvah, it is important for me to find ways to include lessons learned from Torah in my life. Bar Mitzvah means a son of God's commandments. A Bar Mitzvah means I am becoming an adult. I am ready to take on more responsibilities. When one turns 13, it means you are no longer a child, but not yet an adult. You are growing up and kind of in between. That comes with more expectations. Becoming a Bar Mitzvah takes a lot of studying and practice. It also takes commitment and dedication. My becoming a Bar Mitzvah is important to my family because they wanted me to have a religious education and foundation. It is also important to my Jewish community. Today, I feel excited and nervous. Excited because I'm getting older and taking on more responsibilities, and excited because this day is finally here and I'm really doing this. I'm nervous about taking this next step, as well as having to lead all the prayers and reading from the Torah. By becoming a Bar Mitzvah, I am making a commitment to continue my Jewish studies, to live a Jewish life, and to be a part of my temple and community. As I become a Bar Mitzvah today, there are some important people that I would like to thank. I begin with my parents. Dad, I know that you and I have had very different childhoods. Thank you for working as hard as you do to provide for my education, both Hebrew and scholastic, and for the lifestyle that we enjoy. But most of all, thank you for spending time with me and loving me unconditionally. Mom, thank you for going the extra mile in everything you do. You are someone who is always thinking of others less fortunate, whether it is giving meals to a sick friend or strangers, or donating your time, money, and wisdom to others. You are truly the most selfless person. You have always put my needs in front of your own. You're the model of generosity, selflessness, and humility of which I strive to emulate. Asher, thank you for your endless thoughtfulness and support. You're truly the best brother one could ask for, most of the time. To everyone who is here with me today, all of our friends and family, thank you. Thank you for being a part of my journey. Avital, thank you for the snacks. As a 13-year-old boy, food is always a priority. I appreciate that you are engaged with your students and you always have a positive attitude. I also want to thank all of my teachers at Temple over the years. A special thanks goes to Cantor Coleman. I know it's your job to help with my prayer learning and religious studies, but each week you went above and beyond by helping me in person during a pandemic and always making it enjoyable and a worthwhile experience. And the candy and all of your fun gadgets kept me entertained. Thank you. Rabbi Sherman, you started at Temple Sinai and then COVID hit, and I didn't really get a chance to know you. But through my preparation for today, I've gotten to know you, and now I know that you are a thoughtful and genuine leader. As none of my family has had a Jewish education, you have helped us feel comfortable and welcomed here at Temple. I am proud to become a Bar Mitzvah at Temple Sinai. Thank you. Last and most importantly, I want to thank God for my wonderful family and friends, and for my beautiful life, which has led me here today.
Autumn, we are so very proud of you on this very special Shabbat. It's a special Shabbat for you and your family. Please know it's a special Shabbat for all of us who are here, including your entire Temple family. We're very proud of you, but I want you to be sure to understand that you understand why we're proud of you. Becoming a Bar Mitzvah is not easy. It requires a lot of work and focus and practicing. And it wasn't that long ago that you weren't always sure which was an aleph and which was a bet and which was a gimel as far as the Hebrew letters go. But your parents made a commitment and you stepped up to this challenge. You understood that becoming a bar mitzvah would be an important experience for you, but for your entire family. And that it's the culmination of everything that has brought us to this point as you take this step in your Jewish journey. So the way you've gone about this, the effort, the commitment that you've brought, that's why we're so proud of you and for all that you have accomplished. And I hope you feel that pride and love that is shared by everyone in our sanctuary today. It's a great Shabbat on which to become a bar mitzvah. There are a few lessons I want to be sure that you take away from our Torah portion and time of year. The two main characters of our story are, first of all, Judah, your Hebrew name, who we talked about last night. From Judah, I want you to remember the possibility of change and growth, and that we all make mistakes, but it's how we learn and grow from those mistakes that counts the most. And Judah could have easily got caught in the details of who did what to whom, but he's able to put that aside and focus on the most important thing, which was protecting his family. From Judah, we learn the love and importance of family and friends and how we have to do our part to take care of them. And I know that you have good examples sitting right there in that front row. Next, we turn to Joseph. And as you explained to us, Joseph had every right to be mad at his brothers. After all, they did sell him into slavery and tell dad that he was dead. And Joseph has him there in the palm of his hand. He's the second most powerful person in all of Egypt. And sure, he gives them a couple of tests to see what they're really like. But then at that moment, he's able to put the past behind him. He's able to forgive. You talked about the power of forgiveness. And I hope that's a lesson that you'll take with us. It's a good lesson for all of us here, that sometimes we have to focus on the bigger picture and be able to forgive those who have harmed us in the past and focus more on the future that we have potentially together instead. And of course, we just celebrated the holiday of Hanukkah. a reminder of the importance of standing up for what we believe and fighting for the ability to pass on our heritage and faith from one generation to the next. But sometimes we get so caught up in the story of the oil that we forget the bigger picture, which is the Maccabees and their followers stood up to fight for religious freedom. And the miracle of Hanukkah is the fact that the few defeated the many, the weak defeated the strong, right overcame might, and that now many years, decades, and centuries later, we're still here, celebrating our holidays and passing our faith along from one generation to the next. The importance of family, the importance of forgiveness, the importance of passing from one generation to the next what we believe in and what we hold so dear. These are wonderful lessons as you become a bar mitzvah today, Auden. Wonderful lessons for all of us here that I hope we'll take with us as we remember this very special morning. And it's in that spirit now that I'm going to ask your parents to come join us on the bima as we ask for God's blessing upon Auden, and I invite you to please rise.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and guard you always, Auden.
Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'yihunecha.
May God light up your path and be good and gracious to you and to your family.
Yisach Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God be with you every step along life's journey, no matter where that might take you. May God bless you with health and happiness, with life and love and family and friends, and with shalom and with peace. Kein Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. As together we say, Amen. Please be seated. It is now my pleasure to call on Catherine Frank, who is representing our congregation and its leadership, and who's going to make a couple presentations to our bar mitzvah.
Auden, congratulations. It's been a beautiful service. Job wonderfully done. Congratulations to you and your parents and your entire family on behalf of our entire congregation. And on this occasion, we would like to present you first with a pair of candlesticks from the Temple Sinai Sisterhood. We also have a Kiddush cup from Temple Sinai Brotherhood. There is also a copy of the home prayer book on the doorposts of your house, Prayers and Ceremonies for the Jewish Home. This is a gift from Havara at Sinai, your entire temple family. And finally, we have your Bar Mitzvah certificate. Keep it all official. You will also be receiving a voucher for use towards a nifty trip to Israel following your confirmation in 10th grade. And we hope that you will use these gifts throughout your life and that they will be fond reminders of your becoming a Bar Mitzvah at Temple Sinai. Mazel tov to you.
Thank you. We turn now to our concluding prayers, which begin on page 586. Going to ask Asher to come help Auden open the ark. Page 586, and we rise.
עלינו לשבח להודות הטוב, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated. We continue on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We turn now to page 595. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone and every life finds purpose. We turn to page 598. As we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, as we mourn the loss of Sandy Ravencon, Louis Bob Turansky, Dr. Richard John Wakeman, we think of those who died at this season in years past, those whom we've taken into our hearts with our own, as we lovingly remember Pauline Abram, Milton Picorni Adler, Miriam Friedman Balkin, Bessie Rosenblum Barton, Fanny B. Braun, Judy K. Bressler, Evelyn Levy Birkenrode, Rachel Delahunt Daughtry, Alice Birkenrode Hannah, Maurice Handelman, Janice Levy Heyman, Miriam Kahn, Betty Hausman Crone, Olivia Kupperman, Mary D. Ladder, Jacob Nachman Lemon, Philip Levy, Simon Levy Sr., Hannah Kahn Sis Lowentritt, Bella W. Mendelson, Celia Kahn Meyer, Ike Meyer, Dr. Carl Hirsch Rabin, Dora Gainsberg Stern, Joan Barlow von Kernatowski, Sigmund Warschauer, Claire S. Weinberg, Rudolph Wolf. And we join with Asher and his family, and especially remembering this morning, Karen DeLeo and Adrian Samples. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be an everlasting blessing. So we turn to page 598 as we rise and together recite words of Kaddish. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach yirutze, v'yamlich malchutze, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv, v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach, le'olam ul'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol b'chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Please be seated. Again, we want to wish a mazel tov not only to our Bar Mitzvah, Auden, but to his parents, Gia, Noah. You guys did great. Asher, you too. We're so glad that your families and friends could be with us as we celebrate this very special moment in the life of the Emerson family, in the life of our Temple Sinai family as well. We're very proud of you. A reminder that tomorrow will be the last day of religious school for this first semester. There is lots going on for people who'd like to learn more about Temple. We invite you to go to our website and you can learn lots more about Temple Sinai and all the wonderful things that are happening here. We are going to conclude our service in a moment, first with the singing of Lechi Lach, which can be found on page 645 as Auden takes this next step in his journey. And afterwards, we will continue with our Shabbat morning Kiddush. But we begin now with Lechi Lach.
To a place you do not know. On your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. And I shall make your name great. And all shall praise your name. To the place that I will show you. And you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing.
Going to invite Gia and Noah and Asher to come join us on the Bima. We turn to page 604. We continue with the Kiddush, the sanctification of this Sabbath day. Wine is a symbol of joy, our special joy as we celebrate Auden becoming a Bar Mitzvah. Page 604, please rise.
Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asor et ha-Shabbat, v'tvodotam b'rit olam. Tisheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim va'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat לעשות את השבת לדודותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדודותם ברית עולם. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'nei hagafen. Amen.
And hand it to mom and dad. That's the good stuff. Not really.
To Auden family, we say Mazel Tov and Shabbat Shalom.
And yeah, you can give him another. All right. I'm very proud of you.
You can talk now. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Proud of you too. Oh, you guys, they're good friends.
There's my small boy. That's what I want. That's it. For the heck of the job. I want to do it. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to those joining us online as well. Elizabeth, Shabbat Shalom. Janice, Shabbat Shalom. Bill, Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for joining with us. We'll see you soon.